Good morning.
We're on our Monday here in Australia. We left Friday evening and we had a full day just wandering around yesterday. But
So tired.
yeah, but we're good today. We had a nap yesterday and then a full night's sleep. And so this morning we're going to do a quick walkthrough of our room
Small room.
before we head out. We'll talk about where we're going. So we'll do a walk around. So it's a pretty good sized room. We've got a quote-unquote king bed with 2 twin mattresses stuck together on top, and then a nice little open bathroom here. It's more stylish than functional, as the toilet is so close to the wall you can't really sit straight on it. And then we walk here, we've got a nice little view out. We're in the Capitol Hotel, so we're next to the Capitol Theater in this main area. We've got some nice little buildings over here. They're old, and then another big old hotel right here. And then we've got the tram right over here. So
yeah,
it's a pretty good location.
Yeah, we're on the edge of Chinatown, so very convenient.
Okay, so that was our little room tour. Today we're going to the Opera House and Hyde Park and just kind of go wander around in that direction. We're about to go get some breakfast at a local bakery.
Yep. Thanks.
We'll check in later. Bye. Our first order of business when we headed out for the morning was to go get some breakfast. We had done some searching on Google Maps and decided we wanted to go to a bakery, and there was a little bakery called Le Monde that had some pretty good reviews. However, we were a little disappointed when we got there because it ended up being a tiny little pop-up shop that was more of a front for a bakery than it was an actual bakery. Their options were pretty limited, so we decided to go to a different bakery down the street.
See, that's more what I was thinking. The seating sucks. Do they have coffee?
They indeed did have coffee, and they also had a great selection of pastries. We ended up with a pain au chocolat, an almond croissant, and some kind of a fruit tart. Our plan for the day was to go to the Sydney Opera House. On the way, we were going to go through Hyde Park and stop at a few sites. We were basically doing Sydney based on things we saw on Google Maps, so our first stop was the south end of Hyde Park and the Anzac Memorial. On our way through Hyde Park, we saw this beautiful old church called St. Mary's Cathedral. We decided we wanted to go take a look at it and headed across the street. After walking through the other side of the church, we ended up walking through a park with an odd name called Cook plus Phillips Park. As Melody was trying to get some reflection shots of the church, it started to rain pretty hard. We didn't originally plan on going into the Australian Museum, but seeing how it was raining and this was the best cover around, we decided to go take a look. Once inside, we found out it was free, so we decided we would take a little museum tour while we waited for the rain showers to pass. After thoroughly exploring the museum and having a pretty good time, we decided to take a look at the gift shop. We both had people we wanted to get souvenirs for, and Melody ended up finding a good souvenir for a friend. It was actually a good place to get souvenirs because everything was pretty high quality, and she got the highest quality koala we saw on the whole trip. Noticing that the rain had passed and it was sunny again, we decided we wanted to walk back into town to get some lunch. We did our usual Google Map search and found a Japanese restaurant that looked pretty good. This Hungry Jack sign might look familiar, and that's because it's actually Burger King. The Sydney Town Hall was right next to where we were going for lunch, so we decided we would take a quick stop by. Unfortunately, it was closed, and we still to this day don't know the reason. It wasn't listed anywhere as the reason why it was closed. As it turned out, the Japanese restaurant we were going to was in a really fancy high-end mall. While we are neither mall people nor fancy, we actually enjoyed the inside of the mall, especially this really cool clock. Once we got to the top floor, we grabbed a seat at the Japanese restaurant. Everything had a great presentation and was really beautiful. However, the flavors weren't quite there for us. Everything tasted a little bit odd. After finishing lunch and avoiding all the sweet shops in the mall, we decided to head out the door and go to the Royal Botanical Gardens. Looking at Google Maps, the Royal Botanical Gardens looked pretty cool, so we decided that that would be our way to get to the Sydney Opera House. When we got to the Sydney Opera House, we were in for an unpleasant surprise. The whole grounds had been closed off for cleaning and other maintenance work. We didn't know why, there were no signs telling us why, and no one else seemed to know why either. We walked around the perimeter of the fence and had a nice view of the Opera House, but we really wanted to go get a closer look and walk up the stairs. To add to our disappointment, we found out the reason why that we couldn't go visit was because King Charles from England was visiting and they were cleaning everything up for his visit. The fencing took us on a detour under the Opera House courtyard, which is actually where the ticketing booths are. By the time we got out from underneath the Opera House, it was almost 6 o'clock, and we decided that since sunset was in about an hour, that we would head back to the hotel room. On the way back, we headed through the shopping district as we had forgot one very key thing when we came to Australia. We forgot to bring an Australian power adapter for all of our electronics. So after doing some Googling, we noticed that there was something called a JB Hi-Fi in the local mall. This store had more signs for discounts and sale items and whatever else you could think of than I'd ever seen in any store in my entire life. You couldn't even see the products because there were so many signs with prices and percentages off in front of everything. One thing we did find kind of entertaining was the fact that there were almost as many UGG stores in Sydney as there are Starbucks in Seattle. These two UGG stores are actually within a block of each other. And we did notice that there were UGG stores in every town we went to that wasn't really small. After a bit of a break in the hotel room, we headed out to go get some dinner. Since it was our second day in Australia, we figured we should get some food that was very Australian. We picked a place called Roadhouse Burgers and Ribs to go get an Australian burger. Feeling a little more adventurous than Melody, I ended up getting the Australian burger, which is actually a burger with beets, pineapple, and egg in addition to normal burger stuff. The burger was pretty good, it was nothing special, but the beets is a little odd thing because they give you canned beets on a burger, which isn't exactly super appetizing. On the way back from dinner, we stopped at this little arcade that was actually right next to our hotel. It shouldn't be too surprising how Asian inspired this place was, because we are, again, right on the edge of Chinatown. When we finished our short tour of the arcade, we headed over to our hotel room and headed to bed.